For Center 1, you're going to be doing a close reading. Now, I know when we did our survey last week, some of you said that you liked it, and I would have to say more of you do not really like close reading. We all know that it's important for us to make sure that we understand what we're reading, and we have seen, I think, the benefits of how important it is and how much information we pick up on our second and third read. So for this center rotation, I do only have one close read for you to do instead of 3. That might have been a bit much last time. So with that in mind, I really do want you to give your best efforts here. Take your time and really show me what's going on in your mind as you're doing your close reading. So at your center, there should be a folder that has your name on it telling you which reading you're doing. And you're going to be reading an article called A New Da Vinci Code. And it's more about today's modern day science connecting back to learning a little bit more about Da Vinci. So for step 1, same as always, you're going to read the article identifying the big idea that somebody wanted but so then, so that you understand generally what the article's about. As you read, I want you to use one color to highlight any difficult vocabulary words, but make sure that you define them. We said how important it is that as you're reading, you have to make sure you understand what the words are. You're not going to understand the article itself. So, as you read, use one color to define your vocabulary. So as we go down here, the first thing I want you to do is think about what do you already know about Leonardo da Vinci. You might have seen the movie Da Vinci Code. You might have read it. You might have remembered some things if you've already started talking about that in social studies. So just kind of get your brain wrapped around Leonardo da Vinci by jotting down a couple ideas of what you already know. And then as you read, I have a couple vocabulary words here. If you see that here as you read, you do need to highlight it. They're words that I think are important to the article and that you need to know for later on in the questions part. But in addition to these words, there should be some other words that you don't know. And they might also just be words that you think are really important to the article that I didn't highlight. Okay, so it's not a really long one this time. So you're going to go through and do your first reading. If you want to pause the screencast right now, go ahead and do that, and then I'll explain step 2. For step 2, you're going to number your paragraphs and read the article a little bit more carefully this time, highlighting in a new color and using the symbols as you read. Now, when I say highlighting, I do not want to see entire sentences highlighted, let alone entire paragraphs. You're only finding the important ideas, the 1 or 2 words that really highlight what's important into that paragraph, the main idea of that paragraph. Maybe if you're wondering something, then you're highlighting just that part. So I really don't want to see a lot of highlighting within an entire paragraph. Make sure you're using these markings in the margin as you go, because when you get to step 3, they're going to help you identify what kind of commenting you need to do. Now, if there are 9 paragraphs, then I'm going to expect to see 9 markings. At the very least, each paragraph has something important that it contributes to the idea on a whole. But I don't want to see just a bunch of stars, because I want to see that you're surprised. You should be surprised about some of the things that you're reading about, and there definitely should be some things you're wondering about. If you find some opinions in there, then you might agree or disagree. Okay, and so again, as you read this paragraph, you might just find just this word or phrase that's important, and that's all you highlight. I do not want to see entire sentences highlighted. Go ahead and pause the screencast if you want to before you do your step 3. Go ahead and take the time to do step 2 and then come back to this. Your third reading is your final read, and this time as you read, you're going to take your time, pause at each sentence, and if you put a star here, then over in the margin notes, you're going to explain what did you think was important. If you put an exclamation point, then you're going to tell me what was surprising about what you read. If you put a question mark, what do you wonder about? And again, those questions should not be things that are already answered within the article. Any observations that you have, maybe you notice that the first paragraph is written differently. Maybe it's in first person compared to the rest. So you're making notes about important ideas as you read to make a good, complete understanding of the entire article. When you get done, there are some questions here, and we really haven't spent a whole lot of time doing a lot of multiple choice, and I do want to make sure that we understand some test taking strategies. So a good strategy is to make sure as you read and you look at your answer choices that you cross out some of the ones that you know that are wrong. Sometimes that'll help you narrow it down to 2 answers, and that gives you a little bit less information to deal with. If it says paragraph number here, then I want you to go back into the paragraph and find that textual evidence and tell me which paragraph you marked it in. Okay, and so there are just a few questions here, some multiple choice and then a couple short answers. When you get down to the bottom, it's asking you to look at transitions. We spent a lot of time talking about transitions, so just see if you can find some that the author used, what paragraph they were in, whether they are adverbs, infinitives, prepositional phrases, or dependent clauses, and you should be able to find at least 4. And then the last thing is labeling some dependent clauses. We've been doing this by drawing a cloud around the awubis. You have a page in your notebook that you can get out and use as a reference, and then underlining the dependent clause and labeling the subject and verb.